So it's time to write your resume or brag sheet. This presentation is designed to help to give you some information, tips, and tricks that will hopefully make the process a little bit easier for you. So what is a resume? A resume is a short 1 to 2 page summary of your accomplishments, your abilities, and your interests. The focus certainly is on your high school career, and from the reader's perspective, and those readers typically are admissions offices, scholarship committees, maybe your recommenders. They want to see what you've done and what you might add to a college community. You're going to use your resume in a lot of different ways. So it's a great reason, many great reasons to write a resume. First, you're going to use it in your scholarship search. Often resumes are required as part of an application process, but in addition, they can help you write your essays because you often have to write an essay. It can even give you ideas on how to search for scholarships and which scholarships you might qualify for. The admissions committee is certainly going to look at a resume, so often you're asked to submit one along with your application, so you need to have this done in advance so you're not scrambling at the end to write it. Again, it's also going to help you write essays, so often there's one main essay that you send in with most of your college applications, but then there's also additional essays that each college might ask you to write, and having your resume completed ahead of time will help you in this process. And finally, if you are asked on an admissions interview, you'll bring your resume with you and you will present it to that person. So it will help in that process. I think another really great reason to have a resume written, be even before your junior year, is to ask for recommendations. So we always suggest to students that you are asking for recommendations as you're leaving your junior year. You have your favorite teachers, and lots of students like the same teachers. And honestly, they can only write so many recommendations. So you want to make sure that you can get recommendations from the teachers and counselors and coaches that you prefer, which means asking early. And when you ask them, I would highly recommend giving them a copy of your resume because they do know you. However, this is a great tool they can use to write an even more specific recommendation, which will really improve your chances of being accepted at the colleges of your choice. Now that's how you're going to use it, and you may even come up with better ways to use your resume. Let's talk about the information that's on it. So generally speaking, these are the basic categories that you're going to see on any resume. There'll be a heading, there'll be an academic profile, a activity section, so co-curricular or extracurricular, work and volunteer experience, sometimes there's summer programs, awards and honors, hobbies, interests, travel, and in there can be athletics. So there's lots of different information, and everybody's resume is a little bit different based on your background. Let's talk about each category. So heading, you need your full name. You do not need your street address, but you want your city and your state, your phone number, and email address. If you have a website, LinkedIn account, something that represents you well online, I say that, well, make sure it's up to date. It's a good representation of yourself. You can include that link, and then you want to make sure that you list your high school and the city and the state. You could have an objective on your resume. I do think it's a nice, if you can fit it in, it's nice to have. It lets the readers know what's going on. So it's just 1 to 2 lines explaining your goal, and just know that it does change each time you send it out based on the goal that you have when you send your resume out. And here's a couple of different examples of objectives. And as you see, these are for different purposes. This top one, might be for a scholarship, as well as the second one, where the last one, a major in graphic design at University of Rhode Island and pursue a career in animation or architecture. That's specific to a college. So that might be one that's on top of a resume that's going with a college application. Academic profiles. Again, all of these sections are not on everybody's, but if your academics are something that you want to showcase and highlight, they should be on your resume. So you want to list the high schools that you've attended, the cities and states, the dates, your class rank, if it's preferable. You could even include an SAT or an ACT score if it's something you want to showcase. And then honors, AP, the different classes. If you're not sure of this information, you can get in touch with your guidance office and they can help you gather it. It might be as simple as just getting an unofficial transcript or logging into a student portal at your high school. But here's just an example of what might be a typical academic profile. As you see to the right, the 9, 10, 11, we're listing which grades you were achieved these things, not by year, like date, but by the year you were, what level you were in high school. It just makes it easier for the reader. They don't have to do any math. Because when someone's reading your resume, you get about 10 or 15 seconds, that they're going to scan it quickly and they're going to want to look at the information and take it in. So you need to format it well and make choices that's going to make it easy for them. Involvement in lots of different ways. Activities, whether they be at school or away from school, work, volunteer, community service. So you need to list your activities, the position that you held, the grades in which you were involved in them, specific contributions, duties, recognition that you received. You also want to include the number of hours per week and the number of weeks per year. Obviously, if you did something for 10 weeks each year for 1 hour a week, that's much less commitment than if you did something for a whole academic year and it was 20 hours a week. Whoever's reading your resume will want to know these details. And here's an example of a simple formatting. Everybody's a little bit different, so you might come up with a better version of this, but just to give you an idea. You also want to list things in the order, they're reverse chronological. So it's the most recent, it's what's happening now, and then you move back from there. Honors and awards. Probably all have something, whether they be school honors and awards. If you got an honor and award through a volunteer opportunity, don't forget about these things. Competitions that you might have participated in, these are all very important. So a short description, when you received it, and why you won it. That's usually a really good piece. If it's not something, everybody knows how you got into the National Honor Society, but they might not know what a local award means. So if it needs a line of description, put it in. And here is an example. Hobbies and interests. So this is different for everyone, but there may be things that you have accomplished in your life that weren't an official extracurricular activity, or maybe something that you did with your family. It doesn't mean that it shouldn't be on your resume, especially when it's a resume for scholarships or college applications. So think about these things. If you've been a classically trained pianist since the age of 5, but you never played in the band at school, why should you leave that off because it was never a school activity? You should put those things on. For me, I see that as a way that, that's dedication, maybe a way that your brain works, right? So it gives insight. You travel to 48 of the 50 United States. That's pretty cool. Most incoming freshmen wouldn't be able to see that or say that. That's something that makes you unique. So this could be a category that you have. All right, so let's talk about other tips. That was all content. Proofread, proofread, proofread. And I will say proofread again. I can't say that enough. This is a very important document. We know that you've spent tons of time on it. It shouldn't have any typos. Okay, so once you've proofread it enough, hand it to somebody else and have them proofread it. Another trick that I have is to start at the bottom right-hand corner of the page and read your resume backwards, each word, and it will help you pick up spelling mistakes because your brain is not tricking you. You're tripping it up, making it go backwards. So whatever you need to do, make sure you get it right. Consistent formatting is very important. Make sure that the fonts are the same. Copy and paste is lovely, but it can make us have mistakes on our documents. So spend a little time, get it right. Your resume should be 1 page unless you have a really good reason for it to be 2 pages. So really focus on that. And sometimes you can work on some formatting tricks, which I'll point out in a minute, to help you achieve that one-page resume. And if you are going on to a second page, it is a full second page. It's not just 3 lines or a half of a page, okay? So it's all 2 pages or all 1 page. Reverse chronological, as we mentioned before, for everything. So most recent, and you work back from there. Make sure you list the years that you participated in activities, the hours per week, and the weeks per year in your explanation in some way. Formatting tricks. If you're having trouble getting it to 1 or 2 pages, you could move your margins to 1/2 inch. It doesn't have to be an inch by inch margin. I find that Garamond is a font that gives you a little bit of extra space. You could also bring your font down to 10 or 11 point, depending on your font type that you're choosing. Don't go down to 9, that's too small, and don't go over 12, that's too big. And then you're customizing your resume every time. And what I mean by that is you might not be rewriting your bullet statements or the content that's in it, but you might be reorganizing the categories. So for instance, if you're applying to one scholarship that is looking at your academics, well, obviously you're going to put your academic section at the top because that's most important. If another scholarship that you're applying to is relying on your soccer accomplishments, well, then you're going to move your athletics section up to the top. So whatever information the person that you're sending it to is looking for, you're going to order it in that way. Accessible formats. I know everybody uses a lot of different formats out there, Google Docs, Apple products. When you're sending emails, have a PDF, right? That's the universal format. And then I would also recommend a Word document because that's just a standard business document that anybody can read. So if you are sending things, especially to scholarships, a lot of times it all goes in an email or something, you know, it's not uploaded somewhere. So just make sure that you're sending your information out in a way that is readable. Also make sure that when you are adjusting the formats, so if you're going from a works to a Word document or a pages to a Word document, for those of you that work in Apple products, usually the formatting gets a little bit messed up when you make that transfer. So you need to open up the new document and make sure that it's formatted in the right way. So just be cognizant of these things. It does make a difference. Find out if the college you're applying to has a specific format that they want, right? You're playing by their rules. You want to go to that school, or that scholarship committee might have a specific way that they want things formatted. So if the organization that you're sending your document to has requirements, make sure that you're hitting those requirements. And it's not about quantity, it is absolutely about quality, and also getting your message across succinctly. So fewer words are better to get to the same message, and make it an easy read for someone. And if you're not sure what message your resume is sending, hand it off to somebody who hasn't been developing it with you, or maybe doesn't know you that well, and say, when after you read this, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? And if you're not getting the answer that you want, you might need to retool some of your information. So just keep these things in mind. We're shooting for the 1 page, 2 if you have to. Highlight the activities in which you excelled that really point out your premier qualities and show what makes you unique. And don't forget to point out your contributions. I think that's the biggest mistake, is people undersell themselves. The whole idea of this document is for you to showcase all the things that are great about you, and the leadership roles and the responsibilities, the things that you really have taken control of and you're proud of. So don't forget to point out all the great things that you have done while you have been in high school. So, and last, get your resume reviewed by someone else, right? For grammar, for spelling errors, to make sure that your message is on par. Use active verbs. And, as I stated before, resumes are about succinct information. So you're not writing full sentences. So you're using a lot of action words. And you never use I on a resume. So you don't, because you're not writing full statements, you're writing bullet statements, you're starting with a verb. So it is traditional to not use I on a resume. We know that it is about you. And with that, I wish you luck. Hopefully this video has helped you get started, and we look forward to seeing your results. Have a great day.